don't know what Buddhist monks feel like. I don't know exactly what shamans feel like and stuff. But to me, I think that, you know, walking the streets and stuff is such an out-of-body experience. It's just so real, and so basically because you're just like living in another skin, you know, representing your alter ego out there on the streets, that it's almost like the closest thing that will ever come to like actual projection or something of the sort. I mean, I don't know exactly what that feels like, but I mean, this is the closest thing to hitting, you know, the psychological peace pipe. My name is Motormouth, and I am a real-life superhero based out of the San Francisco Bay Area, primarily out of the East Bay.
I'm King Snake.
I go by the name Megarad.
My name is Citizen Change.
I'm Hellpool.
I fell into this completely by accident, actually, to tell you the honest to God truth. Approximately 2007 or so and stuff, when the first issue of Kick-Ass came out, I happened to be at my local comic book store that I go to normally. So I went ahead, started reading through it, and so basically just a couple of pages to get a good feel for it. Took it home, read through the whole thing, and I noticed in the first couple of pages there was a term that I had never heard before, and it said real-life superhero. So being the, you know, internet person that I am and whatnot, I immediately went on to like Yahoo and, you know, Google and Wikipedia, just typed it in, and this whole plethora of just information just came up, and I discovered like, oh my God, there's people running around in masks and capes and spandex and body armor and everything and stuff, actually trying to help people out. And I was like, wow, this is so cool, I want to be part of this.
You know, I'm trying to think back to when I first started. I think at one point I was watching some movie or TV show, not Kick-Ass because it was earlier than that, and I wondered, pretty much the same thing he wondered in the movie, why hasn't anybody done this before? So I said, somebody must have done this before. So I typed up in the internet, I searched all I could, and eventually I came across a website called, I believe it was reallifesuperheroes.org. And there I saw all kinds of people listed, and I was like, wow, people actually do this. And I wonder if there's any of them doing this near me.
Actually, I made this kind of random vow to do 100 hours of stand-up comedy. And I started getting into this zone where everything I did comedically had to be completely true. And I sort of like poured my soul out to audiences like week after week, right? And after some like starts and stunts and this and that and the other, one day I was like, okay guys, I'm gonna become a superhero now.
Short answer, you know, friend of a friend, same way everybody meets everyone. But it's a longer story than that. I've lived in San Francisco my entire life. Great city. If you've ever been, oh, I guess you have been right now. It's been very good to me. I've had lots of, you know, lucky breaks, great privilege. Nothing bad has really ever happened to me here. And I guess that kind of gives one the motivation to want to give something back. And seemed like kismet when my friend Hellpool over here said, hey man, so do you know what I do with most of my time? I was like, no, tell me. Well, it has to do with this costume, etc., etc., and now here we are.
Anybody who does what common sense, which is sadly no longer common, would dictate as a good thing. Like, you see somebody who needs serious medical or police help, when you pull out your cell phone, don't take a picture, call for help. Step in if you can. If you can't, that's okay, as long as you do something to help. People who try and make their community better. Anyone could be a hero.
We all have obligations in life and simple necessities and a whole lot of free time. It's not very heroic to do something you have to do, especially if you know you're going to starve to death if you don't otherwise. A hero would be someone who, for example, would, I don't know, volunteer to get a badge and police training and walk the streets, knowing full well they could get a better paying job doing something else and a whole lot less risky, but would do it anyway. Probably, I guess, a hero is someone who does what they clearly see is necessary in the region around them that doesn't necessarily have to be done by them, but they do it anyway.
There's nothing really super about us. Anybody can do what we're doing. In fact, if more people kind of did something like what we're doing, i.e. not just sitting and watching when something bad happens, the bystander effect is called. When one person figures that somebody else will call the cops or step in to help. That's something we're trying to get rid of. So I guess a hero would be anybody willing to be that first person to step in.
I would say that if you get it into your head that you want to be a superhero, what you should do is whatever that means to you, whatever activities that naturally follow in your mind need to be within the limits of your capabilities. The thing is like to increase your capabilities, but whenever you go out to do real things, you want to keep those within, you know, you don't want to jump off a building and just die. That's stupid. But if you like train up and, you know, become the greatest climber in the world, maybe you could climb a building or swing on a rope or whatever. Yeah, just prepare first.
My advice basically would be, if you do not have any kind of a background with fighting, you know, self-defense skills, anything of that nature, I would personally advise going against wanting to do any street patrols or particular missions that might have any violent effects. I would recommend more so going ahead and doing like, you know, charity work, doing handouts, possibly going ahead and doing an AIDS walk or doing a cancer walk, basically wearing a mask and, you know, a cool funky costume, you know, or something of the sort, you know. So, but if, you know, if you've been in a fight in your life and stuff and you got that fight in you still, you're willing to put life and limb on the line and stuff basically, and so go ahead and, you know, help out your fellow man and your fellow citizens, both of the Bay and of the world. You know what I mean? Then I say, you know, join the fight, join the cause, you know, become a real life superhero. You know, I say do it.
First piece of advice, go on reallifesuperheroes.com or go on to myspace.com/RLSH-hellhound. Get a hold of me or somebody else in the group and ask us for a few pointers. You know, you can do anything from reading books to kids to flat out crime prevention. As long as it gives back to the community, I say go for it, do what you can. Don't stretch yourself beyond your limits. Definitely don't do that, because then you're going to burn yourself out and crash, and that's not good.
There are actually many different ways of being an RLSH. You can be a charity worker and stuff, basically. I'm working for a nonprofit per se and stuff. That's kind of like a public face of sorts. You can go ahead and basically do handouts to the homeless. You can basically, you know, put together, say, like, you know, rallies and stuff, maybe a zombie walk that is primarily geared towards going ahead and, say, basically maybe animal rights or something of that nature. You can basically pretty much do plainclothes work instead of just acting like an extra piece of eyes and ears for the cops. You know what I mean? You can go ahead and actually do missions and stuff, basically, and have primary targets to go after out there, so basically on the streets and whatnot. Or you can just do general street patrols and stuff similar to that of what the Guardian Angels established back in the 1980s, which is what I personally prefer to do myself. I don't know, I mean, you can go everywhere from Howard the Duck and stuff, basically, all the way up the spectrum to Deadpool.
Be Wade Wilson, Deadpool.
I'd say Batman.
Batman, but limit it to the 60s Adam West Batman. My favorite superhero.
Who's your favorite superhero? Yeah, come on. Batman's only superpower is he's rich. And even if he wasn't, there's been plenty of DC comic spin-offs where Batman was not wealthy at all. For example, the Red Sun Rising universe, it's set in the Soviet Union, and Batman is like, in the original Batman, Batman is the ghost of everyone who's ever died of street violence. In Soviet Russia, Batman is the ghost of everyone who's ever died of state violence. And he's sort of like a guy on the streets, practically. And it's communism, so no one can be really rich anyway. But he still does the same thing. At this point, you should probably stop me before I just spend the next 20, 30 minutes just telling you how kick-ass Batman really is. You're gonna ask me who's my favorite superhero? It's Batman. Ordinary guy. Just train really hard, willing to go out and do what's necessary. You know, freaking Superman is a damn alien from another planet, okay? And on Krypton, they can't even fly or nothing. They just have good eyesight. Anyway, so yeah, fuck that asshole.
Down killer.
Yeah, you're gonna have to blur that part out or something. Anyway, answer your question that.
Resent that, man. I'm Krypton.
See, I should have stopped a half sentence. Oh, what was I thinking? Think about it realistically. As long as the yellow sun keeps shining, the man will stay eternally youthful. What happens a million years from now when America isn't even mentioned in the history books and there's no truth, justice, in the American way? What happens if Lois Lane just cheats on the guy? Yeah, no shit! It'd be the end of the world. Lois Lane is the biggest security risk in all the DC universe.